and welcome to this brief live session with you all. My name is Dr. Ganesh Koramanan, and I'm the CEO of iQuery Australia. We specialize in helping students and young professionals seek career and educational opportunities around the world. And in particular, we focus on the opportunities in Australia and New Zealand. And of course, our interest also span across the world. In other words, we are interested in every career opportunity anywhere in the world, so long as our students, our professionals, or our clients are interested in it, or the families that we deal with are interested in it. Today is an exclusive session where I'll be talking about the opportunity to study engineering in Australia and New Zealand. Engineering, as you know, is one of the most popular areas of study around the world. I guess after medicine, engineering is one of the most coveted programs around the world. We also need literally millions of engineers around the world. So let us look at what engineering study entails in Australia and New Zealand, and they are two of the five major English-speaking countries, and certainly two of the main migrant destinations for youngsters and professionals alike from around the world. So let's get into the nitty-gritties. Engineering studies can be divided into three specific segments. We have engineers who become professional engineers, and professional engineering requires a study of 4 years. And we also have bachelor's program or 3-year studies in engineering that makes you an engineering technologist. And then, of course, we got diplomas or advanced diplomas where you would become a technician. Now, how these qualifications are graded globally is through accreditation or through signing of the accords called the Washington Accord, the Sydney Accord, and the Dublin Accord. Now, these accords are signed by accrediting authorities in the respective countries or the signatory countries. In Australia, all engineering qualifications are accredited by Engineers Australia, whereas in New Zealand, the engineering accreditation body is called the Engineering New Zealand. Likewise, there are accrediting authorities around the globe. So you could look up the authority in your respective country. And what is interesting about these three accords is that Australia and New Zealand are signatory to all the three accords. So that gives a very, very critical advantage for anyone looking at engineering qualifications from these two countries, be it at a technician level or a technologist level or a complete certified professional level. Now, that's a background of engineering professional accreditation. Now, who delivers these programs in Australia and New Zealand? We have various providers delivering many of the 1,700 plus courses at right from certificate all the way to PhD levels in engineering. The key players who deliver engineering qualifications across Australia and New Zealand are, of course, the universities. And many of our universities and many of our engineering programs are ranked in the top 100 programs in the world. And this is a good, perspective or a benchmark for you if you were to compare your premium institutions from your own country. For example, if you're from India and perhaps from South Asia, the top engineering institutions or institutions that offer engineering qualifications are the IITs. And what will really impress you and interest you is the fact that many institutions or many universities in Australia and New Zealand are ranked way above, IITs on one hand, of course, but more than that, the engineering degrees are ranked much higher in the world. So, therefore, quality-wise, you could be getting into institutions that are certainly on par with the global leaders in engineering education. Now, what do we, what do we know about engineering? There are mainly 5 streams of engineering, mainly, and they include chemical engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, and structural engineering. Within these, there are quite a lot of specializations. So it could be mechatronics, it could be structural or automation engineering, it could be a whole range of other engineering, including computer engineering. Right? So there are quite a lot of specialization that you can achieve within these 5 main branches. If you were to study engineering as a bachelor program, your first year of engineering is a common year. And a common year of engineering will give you the foundation, the foundational studies, the foundational understanding. And thereafter, you will move into your branch areas, whether it is, electrical or mechanical or civil, whichever one you would opt for the main branches. And the 4th year of the degree in Australia and New Zealand are honors degree, which means, it involves projects and research. So the last year of your engineering will be research led by you and guided by a supervisor. And it also involves a 12-week on-the-job placement, which is a mandatory criteria to be completed before you can graduate as an engineering graduate with a bachelor degree. Now, there are the programs for engineering technologists, for example, or technicians. For example, you could be doing a BSc engineering, a 3-year engineering program. And there are many programs where you will learn a lot of engineering, bachelors of engineering science, for example. They appear in different names and with different titles. But long and short of it is that if you were to do a 3-year engineering program, it is not a full-fledged engineering degree. You would rather be becoming an engineering, technologist or technician if the duration of your course is less than 4 years. So now, having understood the structure and having understood the accreditation of engineering qualifications, let us look at what does it take to study here, the prerequisites. If you're an international student, depending on the country you come from, depending on the school education you would have gained, whether it is a national board in your country or whether it's an international board like Cambridge or international baccalaureate, or in some cases you might have gained an Australian high school qualification from your country. There are specific prerequisites, but on an average, if you want to get into a university, the minimum expected grades would be at around 65%, and whatever grade that percentage gets converted into in your system, in your school system. But if you go to universities that are ranked much higher in the world, so for example, if you consider University of Auckland, which is ranked in the top 100 universities in the world, and of course the most premium university in New Zealand, your minimum prerequisite entry requirement would be around 85%. So if you are, let's say, from India, you need to score at least 85% in CBSE or ICSE to be able to apply to study engineering in a top university. But what you also need to understand is that no matter where you study your engineering degree, whether it's a 4-year, 3-year, or lesser than that qualification, a 2-year advanced diploma in engineering or associate degree in engineering, they're all accredited by Engineers Australia. So the value of the degree is the same across the board. But yes, your experience at the university will differ. The exposure you get at an institution will differ if you go to a higher ranked university. Um, and at the same time, you would walk out of your program with the same, with a degree that is accredited across the signatory countries. So, for example, if you complete a 4-year engineering degree in Australia or New Zealand, your degree is accepted across the signatories of more than 20 countries that are signatories to the Washington Accord, and in all those countries, your qualifications are recognized and accepted, right? So that's how you work out. But now, what makes a difference? What else makes a difference? One other thing to consider is your future goals in Australia or New Zealand. Now, if your purpose of studying a degree here in Australia or New Zealand is to gain a qualification and then perhaps apply those skills back in your country or elsewhere, outside, other than Australia or New Zealand, then you didn't think much about where to study. You could study anywhere. You can get a quality engineering qualification, and then you can proceed from there to your final destination. However, if you intend to stay longer in Australia and in New Zealand, where we have significant shortage of engineers, and if you consider that as an opportunity for you to stay longer here, perhaps look at a longer career after your studies, then it's very important to consider your options for what we call migration or permanent residency. So it is advisable that you consider it before you decide what you want to study and where you want to study, because that can make your life much easier. That can also help you avoid, problems or mistakes that you would otherwise make. And we specialize in particular, iQuery specializes in the services in this segment. We will be able to assist you in understanding what involves in the future planning, that is planning beyond your qualification. Now, our contact details are provided below this video, so you can, please feel free to get in touch with us if you would like to consider planning or having a long-term plan to study in Australia and New Zealand. Moving further into about studies of studying engineering in Australia and in New Zealand. Normally, engineering degrees are delivered across the academic year through 2 semesters. Semester 1 starting in the month of February, and semester 2 starting in the month of July. And there's a flexibility for you to enroll in either the first semester or the second semester. You may start your degree in February or in July, and the prerequisites besides the grades also include English language ability. So at a bachelor's level, engineering graduates or engineering students would need a minimum of band 6 in listening, reading, writing, and speaking of IELTS, or its equivalent in other acceptable tests like TOEFL or PTE. Now, with that qualification, with that English proficiency and your grades, it's a matter of sending the application to the university, but you also have to keep in mind the visa requirements. So the condition for visa for New Zealand would be that you have to establish yourself as a genuine temporary entrant. That is, you have to establish yourself as a genuine student. You must provide sufficient reason as to why you choose to study the course, what benefits you would get eventually, and what your career goals are. If you outline these things very clearly and strongly in your application, there's a very good chance that your application will be, quite smoothly successful. In case of Australian education, when you apply for an Australian visa, you have to prove yourself as a genuine student. You have to clearly indicate your taste, your preparation, and why would you choose Australia rather than choosing other countries. So there can be a lot of, there are quite a lot of interesting information about engineering in general in Australia. For example, if you look at, if you have heard about, I'm sure you would have heard about the black box, right? The black box, that's an Australian invention. The the Wi-Fi is an Australian invention. It's an Australian engineering invention. The hearing implants, like the cochlea hearing implant, is also an Australian engineering invention. There are so many inventions that the Australian engineers or engineering sector has achieved. And you also would know that Australia is one of the leading and sophisticated mining nations in the world. So, be it mining, be it technology, be it business, be it food, right, food technology. Uh, Australia and New Zealand have a quite an advanced, what you say, domain of engineering in various walks of our lives here, and therefore, in every aspect of our economy, engineering and engineering graduates play a significant role. How it translates to your benefit eventually when you graduate is that, one, most of our engineering graduates get a job, a full-time job in engineering within the first 4 months of your graduation or before. So within the first 4 months of you graduating, most of our engineering graduates get, or 90% or more of our engineering graduates get full-time employment. Now, when you get employed, the next question is, what kind of incentives do you get? To give an idea as to what you could expect as your initial salaries, and you can certainly compare this with what you would earn elsewhere in the world. On an average, Australian and New Zealand engineers would earn somewhere between $70,000 to $80,000 annually at the beginning, right? Now, this is for the normal engineering jobs, as in like day-to-day engineering job where you work 5 days a week, work office hours, and no shifts, nothing. But at the same time, if you were to work in areas like mining in particular, your income could be double or triple than that. There are engineers who earn a couple of $100,000 annually if they end up working with mines, for example. So it depends on your chosen field of work, chosen industry, and of course, it also depends on your willingness to work in remote and regional areas of Australia where it's difficult for them to find qualified and skilled engineers. And as you continue to acquire experience, continue to work in the field, you become more sophisticated, and then a couple of years down the line, you could become a chartered professional engineer where you can run your own engineering firm. So engineering certainly leads to a lot of opportunities. You have just understood what kind of income to expect. Now, what kind of investment will you have to make to study in Australia and New Zealand? The key question, isn't it? And especially if you're a parent listening to me now, you'd be asking this question: how much does it cost? And I think that's a word that parents normally use. But what we'd like you to consider is to change the term into investment. How much should I be investing? So when you have a look at the various engineering qualifications, be it a diploma, be it a degree or associate degree, or be it a professional degree of 4 years, the fee charged by institutions ranges significantly. There's a quite wider spectrum there. Some of the highest fee, if you look at, would be approximately $50,000 to $52,000 Australian or New Zealand dollars, respectively, in the respective countries as annual fee. So there are universities that would charge around $50,000 annual fee, institutions that charge around $50,000, but there are also institutions that would charge only around $30,000, right? So that's a wide range of fee options. So, and as I said earlier, whether you get a $30,000 4-year degree or a $50,000 4-year degree, the value of the degree is the same. However, your exposure and experience would differ significantly, because going to a top university will give you way more than engineering experience, right? So some students choose to go to a more expensive university for the experience, but at the end of the day, you get the same degree, accredited by the same body and recognized by, the same country that are signatory to the Washington, Sydney, or Dublin Accords. So that's about the fee. There are also many universities that charge in between, maybe around $40,000, right? That's what the majority would be. But what is interesting about those universities is that many of them would offer you a scholarship. So, for example, we work with some universities in Australia where the fee would be around $41,000, but you may get a scholarship up to $15,000, which means eventually it'll be less than the lowest charging institutions between, these two countries. So you may enroll in a course that is much more dearer than the lowest fee, but because you get a scholarship, your effective investment per year will come down by another $10,000 to $15,000. So you have these options to choose, and you certainly have the option of choosing the right kind of budget to study engineering in Australia and in New Zealand. Now, another interesting thing that we have to keep in mind is that if you come to Australia and New Zealand, it is also a significant advantage for you that Australia and New Zealand we have the highest, or I would say some of the other, perhaps the highest minimum wages for work. And this is relevant to each one of you if you are considering studying engineering in Australia or in New Zealand, because you also come with work rights, part-time work rights when you come as a student. Now, in Australia, you can work for 24 hours when you study, when you have your semester, when your university is in session. In New Zealand, you can work 20 hours per week or 40 hours per fortnight, right? And the average wages would be around $23 respectively in both countries, but you would, you would end up earning approximately $25 an hour, like for whatever work you do. And if you, in the context of Australia, if you continue to work only 24 hours weekly for 52 weeks, which is a year, you can expect an income somewhere of between $30,000 to $40,000, right? So now you have to put this against the potential tuition fee you would pay. And I must make it very clear here that I'm not suggesting that you should come with a plan to pay your fee by working here. That cannot be the plan, because from a practical point of view, and more important from a visa point of view, you and your family needs to make sure that you got sufficient funds to support your studies here when you come for the first time, right? And therefore, both Australian and New Zealand governments have stipulated financial requirements, minimum financial requirements for you to apply for student visas. And again, this would range somewhere between $70,000 to $75,000 of funds held by your family in various instruments like fixed deposits, your savings bank accounts, or it could also come through an education loan from an accredited bank. But that's another area for us to discuss with you. If you're serious about applying to study in Australia and New Zealand, we're more than help you to plan the financials, do the budgeting for your child's education here. So earning part-time income is a significant advantage you would have. You also have to remember that during summer vacation in both countries, you're allowed to work full-time, but that's your choice then, whether you want to work full-time or would you prefer to go back to your country and spend time with your parents and your family. That's up to you. But if you look at the earning potential, there is significant earning potential for you in both these countries while you study, right? And when you graduate, of course, you're looking at about $70,000 to $80,000 on an average. That's the average annual salaries paid to engineers at the beginning of their career. And as you progress, of course, you will end up earning way more, right? Way more than that. So I think I have covered pretty much all major points about studying engineering in Australia and New Zealand. And fundamentally, of course, you must have studied mathematics, you must have studied chemistry, you must have studied physics for engineering to get into engineering. But now let me talk about some alternate options. So what if you do not qualify? Like you come from a traditional school background, but for some reason your grades do not tally up? Or what if you have not studied mathematics in your senior secondary? Can you still become an engineer? The answer is yes, because Australia and New Zealand offers very flexible pathways to any career that you want to get into. That is how it works for us here, uh, us the locals. But that flexibility is also, provided to international students like yourself. So, how does it work? Let's say if you have completed commerce, you know, commerce subjects, you have completed your senior secondary with commerce subjects, you may still get into an engineering, area, engineering program, or even and eventually you can end up doing engineering degrees because there are alternate pathways available for you. There is also a pathway for students without completing the senior secondary in your home country. Yes, you heard me right. So you don't necessarily have to do your senior secondary year 11 and 12, but you may start planning or start studying engineering or working towards engineering if you have completed grade 10 in your country. So if you are in India, Sri Lanka, or any other country, whether you have completed an O level qualification now, or if you are awaiting your results after 10 years of schooling, class 10 board exams, whether it is CBSE, ICSE, Sri Lankan National Board, or a state board in India, or the national board in South Africa or Kenya, if you have completed 10 years of schooling, and if you have graduated with at least 80 percentage in your class 10 exams, then you have a alternate pathway, very interesting pathway to get into three top universities in New Zealand, and that includes the University of Auckland I mentioned earlier, which is one of the top 100 universities in the world. So you could end up doing engineering with one of the top 100 universities in the world after completing just 10 years of schooling back home. How it works is, instead of doing 11th and 12th, you can apply to study a preparatory program to your degree at the respective university. So if you want to study at Auckland University, you can go to Auckland University College instead of going to high school or senior secondary in your country, and complete a foundation program. Now, what is also interesting is that if you are a class 10 graduate with high academic performance, high academic grades, you can also take an admission test and a test that covers mathematics, physics, chemistry, and English, the four basic subjects. And they're not the lengthy test, but they are multiple choice questions just to test your subject knowledge. And if you can, of course, perform well in that, that is, if you can score 80% or more, you can complete the foundation year in just 6 months. So, in other words, if you are a class 10 graduate this year, you can commence your engineering degree with your super seniors of class 12. So, both you and the class 12 student or your super senior can commence your Bachelor of Engineering at University of Auckland, Auckland University of Technology, or Victoria University, the three universities that are partners of this program in the month of February next year. Yeah. So that's another interesting option. You don't necessarily have to wait to complete your 11th and 12th. I think one key advantage, besides everything that I've shared here, is that pathways to engineering education in Australia and New Zealand do not involve strenuous, stressful, entrance programs, entrance coaching. You don't have to really spend years, spend lots of money, and be stressed out and still not make it to, for example, in the case of India, make it to the coveted institutions like IITs. Because if you look at the joint entrance exams for IITs, less than 2% people actually make it from the preliminary to the actual admissions, isn't it? So what about the other 98%? So if you are part of the 98%, it doesn't mean that you are not good. It just means that those institutions do not have enough seats for you, isn't it? And yes, if you intend to work overseas, that's a key question. So who should come here to study? You should, especially if you intend to have a career outside your home country. It is it is perhaps wiser to study in a country where you have, better chances of employment, you have better chances of, recognition, or you have global recognition, and of course, you have pathways and alternate options to become an engineer. And I'll conclude this with one more very interesting note. When you come to Australia and New Zealand, you also have to think about the fact that, or you have to realize the fact that the education system may not be the way it works in your country. It may not be rigid, it is far more flexible, it is far more open ended, it is far more inclusive. And one good example is that many of our engineers eventually go to a medical school. Now, I'm not asking, or I'm not indicating or suggesting that when you become an engineer in Australia and New Zealand, you should become a doctor afterwards. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm trying to say here is, yes, there is a pathway for engineers to become doctors, right? And I'll be soon doing a presentation on medicine, and I'll talk about it then more. But fundamentally, how you can become a doctor is through a graduate entry medical program. So with as an engineering graduate, if you don't like your profession, after 3 to 4 years in Australia and New Zealand, you can still become a doctor. Isn't it interesting? And I think I would leave it there. Questions related to medicine, I will answer after I do the presentation on medicine, studying medicine in Australia and New Zealand, which I'll be doing fairly soon. But for now, please, feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. I'll try to answer your questions for the next couple of minutes. I hope this was interesting, useful, and I certainly would encourage you to get in touch with us if you're planning to study engineering in Australia and in New Zealand. Good luck to those students, both in class 10 and class 12, who are awaiting results across the world. And I certainly hope that we could help you. We can certainly help you to find your way to an engineering career in Australia or in New Zealand. Thank you. Yeah, I look at some of the messages here. Let me look at, right. This is a question about masters in engineering. Yes, I can see Michelle asking this question. And Subhashini, thank you for your kind words, and Mercy, thank you again. But going to the question that Michelle has asked, yes, you certainly can study a master's in engineering. You can also study a master's if you've done a BSc, a 3-year engineering program in your country. So you don't necessarily have to do a 4-year degree. So if you have done a 3-year bachelor's in engineering science, BSc engineering, you can come and do a master's and you can become a fully qualified engineer, right? So yeah, that is possible, absolutely. But it depends on your grades in your final 4 semesters. Your final 4 semesters are critical. Again, do talk to us and we can certainly guide you to the best possible master's program in engineering. Yeah. Right. The scholarships applied. Okay, this is a question from Mercy. Scholarships offered in Australia, yes, because the scholarship systems in Australia and New Zealand work differently. New Zealand offers, generally, they offer a one-off scholarship at the beginning of the course, and then they offer progressive scholarships generally. So if you kept doing well, you may keep winning scholarship for each year of your study. Whereas in Australia, when a university offers you a merit scholarship, it is offered across the course. That is, if it's a 4-year degree and if they offer you a $15,000 scholarship, it means that every year you will get a $15,000 scholarship, once you win the scholarship. So it's a much more generous, approach. However, there is a catch. That is subject to you maintaining your grade level. So if you do not maintain your grade levels, there's a good possibility that you will lose your scholarship in second, third year. So Australia is fairly upfront and they say, yeah, here's your scholarship for the next 4 years, $15,000 each. That's a total scholarship of $60,000 if you really look at it. But then the onus is on you as a student that you have to maintain your grades, right? And again, we are very, very particular about finding scholarships for you. As a matter of fact, what we do differently from any other organizations helping students or professionals is that, one, we help you plan thoroughly, not only for studies, but also for your career here. when you come to Australia or New Zealand. And just to make sure that your plan is executed properly, we also support you for 5 years on you after you arrive. So if you're coming for a master's degree, for example, for 2 years, that's sufficient time for you to complete your master's degree, get into a job, and then, of course, eventually apply for residency if that's what your goal is. If you want to stay longer, more than 2 years in Australia or in New Zealand. So we can help you plan thoroughly. We can help you choose the best study option, the best campus, the best provider for your engineering qualification. And once you have identified that, we can do the whole process for you, like applying to the university, getting your offers, getting your visas, applying for visas basically. And then once you get your visas, assisting you to relocate to the campus and commence your studies in time, and then with ongoing support from our team in Australia and in New Zealand. Yes. So, question about PhD in engineering. That's a very good question, Michelle. Again, you know what? Normally, you would say that to do a PhD, you must have a master's, isn't it? But in terms of engineering, in Australia, we have an engineering, PhD program. If you are a qualified engineer in your home country with at least 5 years of experience, and if you are working in live projects, so there are a couple of prerequisites there. One, of course, you should have had a very high grades. You should have, you should have scored extremely well in your bachelor's program. Then you should have worked in a very critical area, live engineering jobs. And if you have a 4-year bachelor's degree from your country and 5 years of strong, intensive professional experience, then you may be able to do a PhD directly based on projects that you do and without doing a master's. Isn't it fabulous? So you may not have to do a master's degree to do a PhD, provided you are a practicing engineer and you work in the core engineering area, and your PhD can be a project that you already manage, or you will be in a position to manage. So yes, you can do a master's and then go for a PhD, but you may not have to do a master's if you are a very good engineer already with significant professional expertise in your home country. Again, do talk to us so that we can do a personalized assessment for you and help you apply for the PhD. The advantage of PhDs, also must be mentioned here, because if you get admitted to a PhD program in Australia or in New Zealand, you are allowed to work full time when you come here. Yeah, you heard me right. So if you're doing a PhD in engineering in Australia or in New Zealand, when you come to do your PhD here, you can also work full time. So you can work full time and you can carry on with your research. That is possible. You, of course, can bring your family and your children if you are married and you have children, that is, right? You can bring your dependents. And of course, if you're married or if you have a partner, your spouse or partner also get full work rights. So both of you can be working full time if you're doing a PhD here in engineering, right? So there are quite a lot of interesting and advantageous information for you. But once again, we would prefer to sit down with you, understand your background, and prepare a plan for you before we can recommend the best study options in these two countries. Yeah. So, Mercy, how can you reach us? We have provided the email address down at the, below the video. In the description box, we've provided the email address. You can send us an email, or you can get in touch with the person who would be sharing this video with you. So our associates will be sharing this video with you, link to this video, and please get in touch with the person who is going to bring this information to you, and they will be able to guide you, because they're all trained by us, they're all supported by us. So once you have an initial conversation with them, they will arrange your planning and they will arrange your processing through iQuery. Right. I think if you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Anything else before we call it a day? All right. So everyone joining us today on live today, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And I would like, I hope you will be able to share this with your friends and family. Spread this word, because one other thing that we are very different from what our friends and competitors in the market are, that we are not a commercially driven organization. We need your help to reach out to people, and we do it very differently because people like myself, I'm a teacher and my team members are all teachers. So this is an entity that is run by teachers, and that is why we presented the study options the way we presented. So if you're looking for engineering, you have got sufficient information about engineering study options, career options, fees, scholarships, and everything that you need to know about Australia and New Zealand. You just have to get in touch with us and get started. However, if engineering is not what you're looking for, don't worry. I'll be talking to you soon about medicine. I'll be talking to you soon about nursing. I'll be talking to you soon about information technology, business, and about 20 careers, in this series. So this is the first of the 20 career series. We started with engineering. Watch this space, and you will get your invitation to the next, live. Please be there if the next live matters to you more than anything else, and please ask questions. Thank you so much. Good luck to all students, and parents need not worry. Talk to us. We'll work with you to guide your children to their best futures in Australia and New Zealand. Thank you. Bye-bye.